Yo, BJ Gaddour with the Daily BJ, and these are my top 12 leg day moves for those that suffer from knee pain. By the time I was 22, I had 4 knee surgeries. My doctor told me I had the cartilage damage of an 80-year-old and that I was done running, jumping, squatting, lifting. And I had patellar tendonitis and condylomalacia for a decade. These are the moves I have used for the last 15 years. I'm 37 today. My knees have never felt better. My legs have never been more developed. I've gained back the function that I lost. And these are the moves I use to work around the pain and ultimately through it. This is what I hope you can benefit from too, to get the gains without the pains. The video description will have the workout description and prescriptions for every single exercise. I'm just going to show the moves in order to save you time and get you to work right away. Peace. Number 1, isometrics in a variety of squat and lunge positions. They take the joint out of the equation, take pressure off the tendon, and really fortify the joints and build stability and strength, and also will help get you better at all these key movements in a really pain-free way. So the key positions I like to work within are a classic parallel squat, just at about the point where hip crease is just beneath knee crease, or parallel thigh position. You can also play around with staggered positions with the back toe aligned with the front heel. You can play around with the split stance. We can also do some single leg holds. And don't forget about the wall sit on 1 or 2 legs. In the beginning, you want to keep more of a vertical shin, but as you progress over time, bring the heels closer to the wall to stress the quads more. All these options can be used for warm-ups, activation drills, or even part of metabolic bodybuilding protocols. Get number 2, self-assisted variations, basic regressions and modifications on classic movements so you can build up to doing them unassisted, eventually under load. So we can go several key options. 1, TRX or gymnastics range using upper body assistance. I can use it for my squats, for split squats, and even for lunges with the goal of eventually using less assistance. I can also take a band anchored like this horizontally, and what it'll do, I can do my forward lunges, and the band actually unloads my body weight as I step forward. With weight, I can still access your lunges with less stress on the knees. Another great option, you can use it with chairs or dip bars. All my gear is at gardenofgains.com with a Z. We go like this, and then I'm using as much arm assistance as needed to execute the movement. Final option, vertical anchor point with the band, either holding like this or looping underneath the armpits, allows me to get assistance out of the bottom position where people feel the most pain, especially if there's mobility issues, and eventually use less and less assistance till you're doing it unloaded with the goal of eventually loading up and building the sizes. Number 3 is a mix of hip dominant step up and front foot elevated split squat variations. I'm going to show 3 levels based on what we're trying to focus on. The classic version is ideally a step up, and it's great to use adjustable aerobic step up riser so you can start lower and build up to the point where ideally top thigh is parallel to the floor. What we're going to do is we're going to stand up and then shifting the hips back, keeping as vertical of a shin as possible to take stress off the knees in the beginning. We're going to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 seconds slower, especially fighting the plop at the bottom position and repeating. You can also start lower, build up to this point, and get the full range of motion first before adding load. Another option is the front foot elevated split squat, which takes a little stress off the knee but allows you to move through the knee and hip through a full range of motion. You can use eccentric tempo, 2, 3, 4, hold for 1, 2, come up. I love that one. Another one is a reverse lunge step up hybrid. It's right in between the heights. So what I'm going to do is actually step down into a lunge. So it's kind of 50% lunge, 50% step up, but super easy on the knees compared to lunging on the floor. All 3 options were staples in my rehabilitation process, and I still use them today for gains. Here's a series of band TKE or terminal knee extension variations commonly used in rehabilitation settings, but also great for muscle gain with or without knee pain, because we're actually creating kind of a leg extension stimulus to develop the low quads, particularly the vastus medialis teardrop muscle, which is very important for knee health, stability, and aesthetics. So here's a couple options that I love a lot and use a ton. I like these kind of classic TKEs with kind of a deceleration emphasis. You let the knee drive forward and you squeeze that quad hard at the end, lower in control, just as you would when kind of decelerating before you go into a back pedal. If you think about a cornerback playing football. Love those. You can also do either split squats on the floor or Bulgarian split squats in this manner, where typically where it's easiest it becomes the most challenging at the top as you squeeze isometrically into a full knee extension, working the quads. So it's kind of a 2-for-1 to make that movement even more effective. And then a classic option 2 is taking a band, looping it like this, looping one end behind each knee, kind of a band sissy squat, which will allow you to kind of sit back and tall and give you tension at the top to really feel in the quads with a closer stance. Lower in control, push through, and now you get crazy quad activation, particularly lower quads at the top. All 3 variations are staples in my routine. Just need a low anchor point and some bands. All my gear is at gardenofgains.com with a Z. Lateral and hinging lunges are a way to make your lunges more hip dominant and less stressful on the knees. You can do it with body weight, where we're stepping to the side, opposite arm, foot touch, and coming back. So by hinging more at the hip, I take pressure off the knee and I would make my glutes and hamstrings burn more of the load. I also love doing these with a kettlebell because the handle kind of optimizes the range of motion as you do it. You can also do reverse or forward lunges with the kind of opposite hand toe touch, very functional athletic positions. So you step back, opposite arm leg touch, still getting some knee bend, but using the hamstrings to assist more to take stress off the knees, coming through, all right? I can also do it forward, touching, back, touching, back. Again, it's all about finding ways to work around it as you rebuild in other ways. You'll enjoy those. Back squats used to kill my knees, barbell squats in general, and my back. So what I adopted to is a goblet box squat with a mini band, totally auto-corrects your form. You can sit taller and deeper with less stress on the knees and back, and we get this lateral hip driver to spread the hips and knees more, preventing sort of that valgus knee collapse, and you can make incredible quad gains with very little stress on the joints. So what we do, you can go with a dumbbell or kettlebell, start with a 25 to 50-pound bell and slowly build up from there. Get your good squat stance about shoulder width apart, slight toe flare is acceptable, and all you're gonna do is sit tall and deep onto the box, pause, come up and control it. You can also do a 3 to 5 second eccentric to really build that control, fortify the joints and come up, or you can go more of a controlled dynamic repetition style. I also created these shorts, these 3/4 functional trainer shorts from sleeveseparably.com to be right at the tibial tuberosity, so you can do mini band work, not have to worry about it sliding on you. Another excellent split squat variation that's easy on the knees, but also great for optimizing alignment, joint positioning, lateral hip activation. You attach the mini band just above the knees, get into your normal split squat position. So what it's gonna do, it really helps you turn your hips towards that lead leg for stability. You also get that driver laterally at the hip to strengthen and stabilize the knees. And as we lower, we actually get some assistance out of the bottom position. So there's like tons of benefits in this move as a warm-up drill, activation drill, or as a regressed version of the movement if you're working through some knee pain that I think you really enjoy and find some benefits from. One of the keys to getting out of knee pain and staying out of knee pain is really building the supportive structures. The hamstrings in particular, the more developed your hamstrings are, the more support you'll have in the bottom of your squat positions for your knees. And this is, if I had to pick one, the best hamstring movement, rolling or sliding hip extension leg curls, because we work both functions of the hamstring, hip extension and knee flexion simultaneously. We're gonna have an eccentric emphasis here. We'll start 2-legged, build to 1. What I'm gonna do, the early option, I'm gonna bring the ball in like this, bridge up, hold, lock in the glutes, crunch the abs. Take 5 seconds to slowly extend the legs out in front of your body, maintaining hip extension, then you can drop the hips, pull it back in, and repeat. Progress to doing it 2, 3, 4, 5, through a full range of motion for 8 to 15 reps or max reps without ever setting the hips down. And eventually we do that version on one leg at a time for serious single leg strength and stability. All right, and the benefit of this too, by the way, is that it's super easy on the knees, and there's just a lot of benefits. Good luck. Hip thrusts were a staple for me in building my glutes and hamstrings and taking pressure off the knees. You can do them shoulders elevated for more quad glute stress, and you can do them feet elevated for more glute ham stress. They're both excellent. I also like adding the mini band to it because we get more lateral hip work on the 2-legged. We also get more hip flexor and glute activation on the single-legged, and I'll show it like this. I teach it just like Brett Contreras does. The glute guy, tuck the chin, crunch the abs, pull the rib shoulders down, spread the hips to keep tension out against the band, come up, squeeze the glutes hard while keeping the abs engaged. That's a posterior pelvic tilt. It might look like I'm not all the way up, but I am. and I'm not driving the movement through my low back. So I love that option like that. I also love doing the one-legged. It really feels like heavy weight. Come through, squeeze. I get hip flexor activation and core here, down leg glute and the tension in the mini band. One of my favorite options. And again, the same thing can be done, feet elevated, which, especially like this, and the higher you come off the floor, you get even more hamstring. Really just crushes the hamstrings with little to no stress on the knees. And you do the single leg version. I don't care how fit you are. This for 10 plus reps will plump that ass like a ballpark frame. Enjoy. Hip hinges are to the hamstrings what front squats or goblet squats are to the quads. They're really easy on the knees, and we isolate movement through the hip with a slight bend in the knees maintained throughout, so there's no knee stress. I like to do this with my calves against a box or bench when teaching this, because it really maintains vertical shin position, and we don't want those knees driving forward because it is a hip hamstring movement. You're going to maintain a slight arc in that low back. I love a kettlebell between the legs in the beginning because it's the perfect range of motion. Where head's in line with the spine, chin tucked, and I got a slight arc in the back. And then from there, come through, squeeze the glutes, and almost kind of round the upper back a bit at the top to maximize the glute activation. So spread the hips, push the hips back as if closing a car door with your butt. Hinge, lower, bring it back. Hinge, lower, bring it back. You can also do these my favorite way, Bulgarian hip hinge style, with a contralateral setup. So opposite hand is loaded, which gives us just enough stability to keep in motion without having to pause for balance, with 80% of the weight on that front leg. So what I do is I get like this, slight bend in that knee. I even like to take the back hand, put on the small of my lower back. I mobilize the anterior chest and shoulder, and I also feel that I can maintain that arc in the back so that I don't round my lumbar spine. From there, shift the hips back, come through, pull it right through. Hinge, load, pull through, hinge, flat back, load, pull through. And the big focus too, the hand you're holding on, no, yes, active rear delt, because if that shoulder rounds, so does the spine. Love these, super knee friendly, build up the supportive structures, get into them today. Swings are unmatched for a cardiometabolic response, similar to running based on studies, super easy on the knees, feet, anytime you have a lower body injury. The key focus though is you want to learn how to hinge like we just taught before you do the swing, because the swing is a ballistic hip hinge. There's no squatting, minimal knee bend, but this is such a great way to do cardio, power, metabolic intervals. One of the issues that happens when you have knee pain, you can't do your cardio or your conditioning, you gain weight and the knee pain gets even worse and you get deconditioned. So this is one thing I use a lot to stay in shape and work around it. You get your feet just as you would in a hip stance or hinge stance, toes forward, about hip to shoulder width apart based on comfort. The bell is 12 to 18 inches in front of you. Knees are soft and remain soft the whole way. You're going to hinge at the hip, flat back it. You're going to, as you grab the handle, screw your shoulder into the socket, activate the lats. Tip it on its side, head's in line with the spine. Hike it back, exhale through. So many benefits, and check out past videos like my top swing variations. The 12th and final movement of the Dirty Dozen knee-friendly leg day movements is any sort of mini band, lateral hip walk, step, or skater jump variations. And within the lateral hip walk variations, you can use the same mini band tension, going from easy to medium to hard based on where you're placing it by lengthening the lever of resistance, or you keep it here and go lighter or heavier resistance, so the choice is yours. But the big focus here is we get into slight bends. You can go straight-legged if you want to really isolate the hip, but ideally, get those triple bends, ankle, knees, hips, that functional athletic position you see in sport. And all I'm going to do is keeping the toes ahead, step, step, step. I also like to mix with doing this from a hip hinge, which is super hard, because now the hips and hams are just like crushed in a big way. Super knee friendly. You can do like a minute one way, then come back a minute the other way, or a couple steps left, a couple steps right. Another good option, a little more dynamic, is just doing these steps. All right? Great way to take pressure off the knees and work the entire lower body. For cardio metabolic, plug it into a circuit, intervals. I love skater jumps, pushing out against initially. Back toe can touch for support, and then eventually you can lift that back leg and power up. All these moves can build muscle, take pressure off the joint, bridge the gap between being in pain, gaining function, pain-free. They've helped me so much. I hope they help you as well. Get all my gear, programs, whatever at bjgaddour.com, bjgaddour.com, and subscribe to my channel. I hope this helps you guys. Love you. Peace.